Hey, it's Jess, and welcome to Becoming Heartstrong. I'm a social entrepreneur, speaker, mother, and business owner, and I'm here because I believe in you, and I want you to live your full potential. My mission with this podcast is simple: to offer you perspectives, tools, and inspiration to help you live with more courage, rebuild after setbacks, and strengthen yourself from the inside out. So each week, I talk to thought leaders, authors, experts, and everyday amazing people who share their stories and outlooks that help you get from where you are today to where you want to be tomorrow. Let's get started. Do you ever feel like you have something great inside of you, but you just aren't sure how to bring it to life? Do you ever need some clarity on how to get from where you are to where you want to be? I'm so excited to share a free guide I created just for you. This tool has helped me in my own times of struggle and doubt. It's called Your Future Self Guide. This mini course includes a future self visualization I recorded, a series of journal questions, and some insights from me about overcoming self-doubt and embracing self-leadership. You can download it for free at jessicalindberg.com/futureself. That's jessicalindberg.com/futureself. Let's get back to the show. On today's podcast, we're going to talk about something that we all think a lot about, worry about, wonder if we have enough of, and that's money. Shana and Vanessa are my guests today, and they are energizing keynote speakers, master financial coaches, and co-hosts of the top 1% globally ranked podcast, Financial Coaching for Women. They also love talking budgets, which is something I don't love, so I'm curious to talk to them about that. And they know how to make personal finance fun, judgment-free, and refreshingly simple. They bring over a decade of coaching experience to the table and training by Dave Ramsey. Shana and Vanessa are architects behind the smart money system that has guided thousands of clients toward financial clarity, freedom, and peace of mind. What's their secret sauce? A blend of empathy, practicality, and a sprinkle of humor, creating a coaching experience that's encouraging for your spirit and your bank account. Welcome to the podcast, Shana and Vanessa.
Thanks for having us. We're excited to be here.
Yeah. So let's start talking about money. It's a loaded topic. People say, well, money's not the most important thing, but for most of it, I mean, it's a tool that we all need in our life, and we're always trying to figure out how to think about it, how to do our best with it. So the first thing I want to kind of dive into is like, sometimes there's a lot of shame around the idea of money. Like we don't think we're good with it, or we don't have enough, or we're comparing ourselves to other people. So let's kind of start like macro level. Like, how do you suggest your clients think about money in the first place?
Oh, that's such an interesting question. Mm-hmm. We've been doing this for 5 years now, and we've really, the shame thing is something that we've really picked up on. We didn't ever go into it looking for it, but every single person to a person says, well, I should have known, I should already know. I should. They're ashamed. They feel ashamed when they come talk to us that they, one, don't already know everything, and two, haven't already done everything. Right. And we're like, wait, why would you expect that to be the case? Right. We think finances are kind of complicated, and then these days they're extremely complicated, and you weren't taught it in school. Our generation missed out. We think there's some good work being done in getting younger kids, educated on it, but we weren't taught, we don't know. And so then this just starts this spiral of shame. Like, well, I should know, but because I don't know and I don't do it, then I should just be quiet about it, not talk about it. And it's just like, it's not great. We don't love it.
Yeah. And what we find is because they're so good at everything else. So like they're entrepreneurs, they're wonderful moms, they're great, Christians, and they're involved in their community, and they're great wives. Like they do all these things, and they think that they should be good with their finances, and they should know. But like we say, you don't know what you weren't taught, and it's okay, but you're going to learn now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people, like, we know we should pay attention to our finances. Like, we know that they're important, but there's like resistance to it. So, I mean, you started by saying like, sometimes you don't know what to do. So you don't know what to do. And then you think, well, I should know what to do, but you feel this resistance to it because it feels sometimes like this like scary thing in the room, right? Because it also creates a lot of tension in people's lives and in their marriages and their relationships. So like why should people pay attention to it, and why should they not be afraid of it?
Well, I think people avoid it because they're scared. So a lot of the conversation around money is, our mentor Dave Ramsey, for example. There's a lot of, this is how you should do it. It's very scorched earth. It's very cookie cutter, one size fits all, kind of yelling at you a little bit about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then you're like, oh, that seems scary. I don't want to do that. But then they overcomplicate it in their head as well, and they make a situation worse. So that's why you want to avoid looking at it. What we find is once we get it all out on the table, one, it's not almost never as bad as anybody thought it was. And two, you can instantly start to feel relief because you're taking action, like holding it all in here. We like to say it's like wrecking balls in your brain. That's where the pain is. You can just like move right past that by getting it all out on the table.
Yeah. When we, like Shana said, when we actually show our clients what it looks like, this is actually what's going on. You can actually see them take a deep breath and all the kind of weight kind of get released from their shoulders because they're like, oh, it's not that bad. You mean to tell me I have $1,000 left over at the end of the month if I just follow this plan? And so it's really good. And also what Shana was talking about, they make it complicated. We have seen, so many budgets and so many types of templates and layouts and formats on how to do it. And I like to say it's kind of like when you're trying to lose weight. It's like, oh, you have to do this and you have to do this and you have to do this. You have to do all these things. And so when we try to get our finances organized, they try to do so many different things. In actuality, when we show them our budget template that we made, we spent a lot of time creating it with a designer because we did not find one out there in the marketplace that we liked. And we're like, this is how simple it can be in these 5 little rows. And all the light bulbs kind of go off and they feel like, I can do this. This is something that I can handle.
It's like making it simple and kind of taking it step by step, right? It's such a good analogy, like the weight loss thing, because it's like, ooh, I need to count my macros and then I need to pre-make my food and then, all the things. And and then people just don't do it.
Right.
They get paralyzed.
Yeah, you get paralyzed. Right. And what are some common mistakes that you see that people make with their finances? Maybe the way they think about it first, and then just like maybe something that they're doing like that you're kind of seeing over and over again. Like this is a common situation that I see a lot of women and families facing.
One of the things that we see is that they try to use one account to manage all their finances with. So, when we were 16, we got a job, we got our first banking account, right? We got a savings and a checking, and we kind of kept it there. And then we got married and we still use that same checking account and savings account to do all the things. But what we're seeing is that, like Shana said, life is a little more complicated now than it used to be. And if we can separate some of this, and what we like to tell our clients, the first thing to do is to create a second checking account. To one where you spend out of and one where all the bills and debts are being paid out of. So we just find that they're trying to do so much out of one account and it's too much. You cannot organize. You don't know what's going on because it's all jumbled.
Yeah. They swipe and they have no idea if what's actually going on inside of the account. And we say, well, no wonder you have hundreds of transactions in here every month. I don't want to look at that. That's another reason they don't look at it. Right. It's because it's like, that's a lot to deal with. So yeah, that's one of the mistakes that, again, they don't know. When we tell people to separate your spending from your bills, it blows people's minds. It is the easiest way to organize your finances and get a quick handle on what's really going on. But, because people are doing bank account budgeting, that's what we call it. I look at my bank or my credit card, whichever one, and do I have enough money? Okay, I'll go get it. If I don't, then I guess I'll get another credit card or something. Yeah. And so we built our system to go with that habit, right? You're already using it that way. So how can we make it functional and help you to get to wherever you want to get financially, whether it's saving money, paying off debt, saving. We just, our podcast that comes out today is about how to plan to go on vacation and how to save money so that you don't have to pay debt. You can pay cash for your amazing upcoming vacation. So.
Okay. So I want to get into that real quick because I love that idea of having 2 checking accounts. Actually, we do that in our house. And yeah, we probably separate it a little bit different because we pay for different things out of different accounts. That's kind of how it works for us. But what's your recommendation? Like, let's get into the practicality. So 2 checking accounts and what goes in each account, and how does it work? And do both people have access to the account? Like, is it one person's account or another person's account?
Let me write these questions down.
I think we'll be able to answer all those in one fell swoop.
Yeah, just in general, tell us about this 2 account idea.
So good. Such good questions. Yeah.
So basically, if you're married, let's just start there. We actually recommend you have no less than 4 of them, really.
4 checking accounts.
4 checking accounts. Okay.
Okay.
And so that's one for your bills. That's where all your bills and your debts are paid out of. One for like gas and groceries. Those are pretty consistent. So you can just kind of keep those together. And then one each for your pocket money, right? So you would have, the wife would have a checking account for her pocket money and the husband would have his own. Now everybody has access to all these accounts, right? Like you're not hiding money, but for your own pocket money account, you only need one debit card because you're the only one that's going to be spending out of that, right? And then out of the gas and groceries, each of you will have a debit card. So the most debit, I always say this wrong, but you'll only really ever have 2 debit cards on you. Really, that's really all you have to track. So it's kind of easy.
Yeah.
And that bills account that we talked about that you're paying all the bills out of, you will not have, or you will have a debit card, but you will not use a debit card or keep it on you.
Yeah. And so those are the basics. We get way more, if you want to call it in depth or complicated, it's not, it's very simple, but those are the basic accounts. And like Vanessa said, what that helps you do is you have all of your most important things paid for and figured out exactly how I'm going to pay for them. Right. So the way we set your bill system up, you're getting your bills paid automatically and they're all happening. There's always enough money in there. You never have to you don't even have to look at it. You will, because you're smart like that. And you're very involved in caring about your finances, but you don't have to actually. And then you're spending, which that's the big difference that people like, just get your spending out of your bills. Neither one should affect the other. Right. And then you're spending for gas and groceries. You want that, like you have to get to work or the kids to school and you have to eat. It turns out people want to eat every single day. And so you want to make sure you have that money separate. And it's really nice to know that I have this and, if I have to stop for dinner or whatever, here's the money. And then the pocket money is that's the big thing that also does. One, I know I have money. I can spend money. A lot of times overspending problems come from like fear that I'm never going to have money again, or it's this weird,
or that you've never had money to spend ever. Right.
And so you know that you have money, which is a big game changer. And then you know how much you have. So if I'm going to TJ Maxx, if I'm going to Amazon, this is what I have. And our whole system, if you go more bird's eye view, we set up transfers to those every paycheck. So that you are always getting refunded. And it's just this magical system that you always know what money you have. You always know how much you can spend. You can go get groceries when you need to. That was a big thing for me when I was first trying to learn how to budget correctly, is like, well, I have to, it's the end of the month because we get paid, twice a month or whatever. You have to eat still, but there's no money left. So how is this going to work? So getting that figured out really, I think takes a lot of stress out of a lot of people's money lives.
I love that. I love that it's like, even what you said about spending money, because I think for women, I don't know, what you all see, but it's like, we like to buy stuff, we see something, we want it, or we have something in mind that we want to buy. And then we buy the groceries and the kids need this. And then there's that. And then we're like, oh, where did all that go? I really wanted those, sneakers or whatever. And so the idea that, it's not like a lack mindset. It's almost more of an abundance mindset, the way that you are setting that up. It's a really cool little tweak.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things our clients tell us is like, I still have money left over, which if they've never been able to say that. Right. But because it's separated, because it's a little bit more organized, they can see it. They can see that the money is there. And we tell our clients that having that pocket money account is a non-negotiable, because if you don't have money to spend on you, it's a no judgment account that you can spend it however you want. Your husband can spend it however he wants. But if you don't have that, you're going to pull it from somewhere anyways, and you're going to spend the money, right? So might as well just designate a certain amount of money each paycheck that is yours to spend freely on Starbucks, on shoes, on house stuff, like whatever you want.
And we did say, and you brought it up about women, and there's so many different things that go on with that. There's so many different money backgrounds that people can come in with that cause these different spending things. But I do think learning, so I think a lot of people know that combining finances when you get married is difficult. Having children should be a whole nother course, right? That's a whole nother thing, because at first it's like diapers and formula, like, okay, or whatever. If you do, you might nurse or whatever, but there's some basic children expense that you are prepared for. But then they get older and it's literally every day something. I love to tell the story about how my son, I got a call from his school one day, and they said, Mrs. Roberson, we just wanted to let you know that we have this program for families who can't afford shoes. If you guys, if you need some assistance, he can come shopping at our shoe store. And I said, excuse me, I can afford shoes. What just happened? Anyway, my son was walking around with his soles were completely full of holes or whatever. And I had no idea. And I said, son, I can buy you shoes. You just have to let me know. Right. And so the mom things that come at you for your money is really what people think they're bad with money. No, it's like, you just don't, it's so confusing if you don't sit there and think about it. So we teach to set up a kid's budget, like a line item for your kids, which would be maybe different than clothing. We do need to budget for clothing, but having money set aside for your kids every month, because something's going to happen, and you guys, and they can pick whatever that is. But for us, the way it kind of works is, you have this money, and when it's gone, it's gone. If this means you're going to your friend's birthday party, or if you want to get that water bottle or whatever, but that's it. That's your budget for the month. And we're not going over that. And that way and we might not spend it every time, but that way I know as a mom, I can say yes when I want to say yes. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't affect my ability to get those cute shoes that you were just talking about. Cause sometimes mom needs shoes too.
Yeah. Well, It's just, there's always, like Shana said, there's always something happening, especially with the children, birthday parties, field trips, sleepovers, whatever, all of that. And so knowing that you have that money set aside for them, and hey, that's not your pocket money. You're not using your own personal pocket money to pay for all that, also feels good. Because a lot of our clients say, well, what am I going to do with my pocket money if I also have money for my kids? And I'm like, oh, well, yeah, now you get to spend it on you. And that's like a whole new thing for them, because normally all of their own money that they normally set aside for them goes to the kids.
Yeah. So or the house or whatever, something that is more of a need, not really a need, but it's not for mom, or it's not for her, I should say. And right. So, and sometimes the man is in the same situation in a different way. I think my husband feels like if there's something that has to be gotten from Lowe's, it's, it would have felt like it needs to come out of his pocket, because you're not going to catch me in Lowe's. So, but anyway, but then again, we do have a home repair fund, right, that we set aside for, and that's it's just so that everything gets organized. And I can imagine if your listeners are thinking right now, well, this sounds a little complicated, ladies. Yeah. It's not. It takes you a minute to set it up, and it doesn't, like, maybe a couple hours. Okay.
It's really not a lot. Yeah.
And then it makes the rest of your life so much simpler and so much easier. And what does our friend say?
Well, one of the coaches that we were listening to, he says, and you know him too, Jessica, he said, do something today that's going to make tomorrow easier for you, right?
Save time for you.
Save time for, yeah. And so that's this whole concept that we have our clients set up, and the whole system, we're going to do the work right now. We're going to walk you through it. We're going to hold your hand. We're going to set it up with you. And then you can literally wipe your hands of it. And we make it as hands-off as possible, because we know the second we go to touch it, it's going to mess up.
Yeah.
Like the more hands-on we are with our money, the more it's going to mess up in some way, shape, or form. So our entire system is like an automated way to do your money. And you get to kind of sit back and be the CFO of your finances.
Mm-hmm. I love that idea of the CFO, because the CFO means that you're leading it versus letting it lead you. Yes. Right. And I think a lot of times, like, and it's true, it's funny. I have kids. I have 9, 12, and 15. And everyone's, like, oh, kids are so expensive. You think they're expensive when they're little. And then they get big. And then there's, like you said, there's always something. And you almost feel like you're just getting pulled along by life, and you like can't control it. And so I think what you're doing is you're giving people some agency in life. Life is messy. It is complicated. There are things that come up, especially today. I think with kids, like there's social media, there's what everyone has, there's parents. It's a whole other conversation, buying stuff for their kids. Kids are wearing Lululemon when they're like 14, I mean,
no.
It's a whole other.
Much younger.
What?
I said no, much younger.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I don't have girls, but anyways, there's that pressure that our kids feel. So I love that you're helping people sort of take charge. CFO, I love that, of their family. One of the things that
Jessica, do you mind? I'm sorry. Yeah. I have to say this. So we teach people how to be bougie on a budget. Can I just say that? So
I want to talk about that.
Okay. Because I was just thinking about Lululemon, and I don't even know how to say it. I don't know how to say it right. But anyway, keep going. Sorry.
Yeah, I want to talk about that. But just before we do that, there's 2 things I wanted to ask you. One was, when you come to like a marriage, people have different mindsets and ideas about money. And I think if you don't talk about how you grew up and what that was, like, I think that's where a lot of things can get a little messy. And my husband and I had two very different experiences with money growing up, very different. And I will say we've been married for almost 20 years, but it wasn't until probably, I don't know, 10 or so years into our marriage that we really realized like how we thought about money was so rooted in our experiences of it as young people and the kind of families that we grew up with. When you get into this with your clients and especially with women, like, do you ever bring that up to them and ask them those questions? Do you think that there's like those root experiences that impact how people are, you know, dealing with their money today?
Oh, 100%. Like that is,
Yeah.
you hit it nail on the head. Because we have, especially when we coach our couples, it's, well, this is how he was brought up with money, and this is how he experienced money as a kid, and this is how
Yeah.
I experienced. And it's usually complete opposites, right? And so then, like Shana alluded to earlier, you have these two completely different backgrounds and you get married, and now you're having to join your finances and do it. You know, you expect him to do it your way. He expects you to do it your way, his way, just because that's just what you, each of you knows.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work. So you've got to find that middle ground. You've got to communicate and know where each other is coming from, and then find a system that works for both of you together in this marriage.
Yeah. And I think the big thing is that you may have those expectations or that way of doing things, but you don't communicate about it. So it's not only bad, it's so bad that because we don't even, we may not know that this is how I see money, this is how I deal with money. If I do know, I'm probably not communicating it, and then that's where all the big trouble comes in, right? And so then what we do and what we encourage is to change the minds. So there is you can go backward and think, well, look at all the bad money baggage I have, or the reasons I make these decisions, or whatever. That's fine if you want to spend a minute there. But we want you to look forward, be excited. So when you think about a married couple, when they joined forces, they were excited, right? I imagine
they had vision, they had goals.
Yeah, they were dreaming. That's why you get married. You're like, we're going to live this exciting life together. We want to rekindle that excitement when we're talking money. It's that, because as you said earlier, money is involved in everything. So even if I don't want to be greedy, I don't want to think about money all the time. Like I'm not that kind of person. I still have to have money to do all the things that I want to do, whether it's travel, whether it's just support my family, whether it's eat, anything big or small requires money. So we have to talk about it. So let's make it a fun, exciting conversation and think of what we can accomplish, what we can dream about by talking about money, instead of that like icky, controlling, like all of these different things that can be the way the conversation goes. We want you to be excited about it.
Yeah. And we just find that, like Shana said, let's acknowledge where you're coming from, and then be like, okay, now what are we going to do to move forward? How are we going to take what we've known and what we're learning right now together as a team and make a vision for our future with our money?
I love that. I love that idea. So I want to get into some of your, the bougie on a budget and things for families, but one of the realities of the world that we're living in is that everything's more expensive. And I saw this statistic that said, it was actually Business Insider reports that as of November 2023, grocery prices were up 25% since 2020. And even if you're a family who's making a decent living, I actually saw the statistic, my husband and I were like riding in the car and I was going through my Instagram, and I think it was Wall Street Journal. And it was talking for a family of 4 living in the most expensive cities in the United States. So this is a crazy statistic, but it's like San Francisco, family of 4 means you're living comfortably, you're paying your bills, you're putting some aside for savings. I think your housing is 25% of your, or 30% of your income every month. $339,000 would be like a middle, not like a super bougie, if you will, life, but like, you're able to take care of things. That's an extreme thing. But the reality is that wages have not kept pace with daily expenses for people, right? Like groceries. And so that also is like, we want to be positive, but that makes us feel kind of like, we don't, it's challenging. Like, how do you kind of, thinking about families and the climate that we're living in the world, how do you kind of help them think about that or deal with that? Or like, what are you noticing? about that?
Well, we just first of all try to get them to look at the numbers so we can know, right? Let's look at the numbers and see, am I able to afford what I want, or is it an income problem, or is it an expense problem?
Yeah.
Because what you're talking about is people's income has not kept pace with the way that expenses have gone up. And that's absolutely true. We all know that. We all go to the grocery store, right? We all go to the gas pump. But what you can do about it is look at your expenses. Do you know, Jessica, would you believe this? People will have double like Amazon subscriptions. People will they will come in with all of these. Oh, I didn't even know that I was paying Google storage or whatever. Mm-hmm. So so what we're going to say is let's control what we can, which is your expenses. Let's see. It doesn't mean, and that's why our tagline is, bougie on a budget. We're not asking you to go on beans and rice and never buy anything again and never go on vacation again. But we want to get it all under control. Make sure you're spending money on what you actually want to be spending money on, even if it's a bill, versus the chaos and the clutter that is debt payments. That is, I'll just do this subscription's $5. This one's $3. And then they just all add up. Let's get that under control.
Yeah, I love to. So my husband runs a grocery store, and when all the prices started going up, I was like, the people who pay your salary, do they know that they've not increased your salary, but they've increased all the groceries that we're all supposed to buy? Yeah. It's been this big thing, but and it's a joke, but it is true. The groceries have gone up, but like Shana said, what can you control? If eating healthy, and we just went on a podcast recently and we were talking about that, if eating healthy is important to you, then what can you cut back on to make that still happen? If going on vacation is important to you, that's great. But how many subscriptions can you cut back on to make sure that you can afford that?
Yeah.
I forget how many lines we actually have in our budget to allot for like expenses. I have one client, one who uses every single one. And I love them, but 90% of them literally are all subscriptions. And I, in a funny way, told them in their session, I was like, so you win the award. You've used up all of our lines and we have no more space. And he was like, oh, I said, so I think we need to make some decisions here. Right. But it's just because when the kids add some, the wife adds some, the husband adds some. And if we're not seeing it as a whole, we don't actually know what we're spending money on. It creates a problem.
And the other place that people really, besides subscriptions or just not requoting their insurance, requoting their cable, all of that kind of stuff, is eating out. We have people, and we'd suggest to your listeners, go do a 90-day review, print out 90 days worth of your bank statements or credit card statements if you're using those, and see what you're actually spending your money on. And one of our clients, she famously to us said, I wanted to throw up when I saw how much I was spending on eating out, because, a little here, a little there.
You don't think it adds up.
You don't think about it. And then it adds up. You look at the number and you said, I probably could have done something different with $2,000 this month. Or I would, if I was making the conscious decision, I would. And so we would just say that expenses, we understand that this economy is making, or whatever the right word is making it difficult, but take ownership of your finances, take ownership of what you can do about it. And like we said, more often than not, there is more wiggle room than you think there is. And here's the other thing. When you see that number, you don't shame yourself. You say, cool. I have $2,000. Okay. That's what I was spending. What do I want to say I'm going to spend on restaurants? And then I can reallocate the rest of it to whatever the goals that I have are.
Yeah. That's the two questions we like to ask our clients is, what are you doing? And what do you want to be doing?
Yeah.
And those are very different things, because like Shana said, when you do that 90-day review and you see how much you're spending on going out to eat, or even groceries, just frivolous snacks and just, random stuff that you're not really paying attention to. And half of it you're throwing away throughout the week anyways, because you're not using it, or it's shoved in a pantry or a freezer, right? Go through that stuff and see what you're actually buying and see what you can do about it.
I love that. That's why sometimes I love to use Instacart, which I know is a little bit more expensive sometimes, but I feel like I buy less because I'm looking at everything right on the cart. Like, this is what I'm actually buying. And then you're like, ooh, we don't need that. We don't need that. We don't need that. And you kind of take it out. So that's kind of like what you're saying. Hey there, it's Jess, and we're taking a brief pause to highlight this show's sponsor, the Heartstrong Collective. It's more than just a nonprofit. It's a social movement I founded to inspire people worldwide to embody resilience and grow through challenges. Through the Heartstrong Collective, we're dedicated to empowering caregiving families, investing in the next generation, and leaving the world just a little bit better than we found it. To learn more about our mission and how you can get involved, visit us at theheartstrong.org. shannandvanessa.com. You focus on families who, they make a good living, but they feel like they have nothing to show for it. What inspired you to help people here? And, how can they have something to show for it?
What inspired us to help them? Well, I think we see them in a situation that they don't have to be in, right? So we do free calls all the time. And the biggest thing that they tell us all the time is we make good money. We have no money. Right. And so literally,
but I feel like,
but I feel like it
broke,
should. And I feel broke. Like it's literally going out just as fast as it's coming in. And so we love being able to sit down, put their numbers on paper, show them what their budget could be like, and the amount of money that they can have. They can be saving for vacation, the amount of money that they can be using on themselves, putting their kids in travel sports, saving for Christmas ahead of time, saving for birthdays ahead of time. We show them this huge plan, and the relief, the light bulbs that go off during the sessions, the amount of success that they have when they're continuously texting us after they've graduated, letting us know how well they're still doing. Like that is why we do what we do. We absolutely love literally changing their lives.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So how can you have something to show for? I mean, I think you kind of just answered that. You're like, you kind of get organized and you see where things are at. But one of the things you also talk about is like mindful spending versus mindless spending. And this is maybe where the margin is, right? Of getting something to show for it. Life is so fast, right? And it's like you run through the Starbucks drive-through and you do and those can be mindless, right? And so how do you help people be more mindful so that they can have something to show for it?
Well, I mean, you put everything in a budget. So, one of the things we'll just walk you through how we teach people how to budget. The first thing you start with is income, and it's so exciting. It's so fun because
it's the best number.
Yeah, it's the positive number. You're like, yeah, woohoo! And then we take debt, look at your debt, then we look at your bills, and then we go over to the spending and savings. And there is always money, money left over for those things. But what we do is we make a plan on where do I want to spend money and why. And that's when and then where do I want to save money? Because we do savings buckets as well. Then with the way that we have our accounts and our system set up, you start seeing money stack up for all the things that you've decided were important, whether that's a new vehicle or a vacation or kids' summer camps or whatever. And you literally see the money there. And so you have something to show for it, right? And then you go, Vanessa went to Atlanta with her daughter for travel volleyball. She has something to show for it. They'll have those memories for the rest of their lives, and they have all these pictures. They had so much fun. And that's the goal is, if I'm spending money, I want to know it's on purpose, right? And it might be Starbucks. I have a client who the only time she gets work done is she goes to Starbucks, and because she's got two and then one on the way, little ones. And if she's at home, they're just, they can't, which I totally understand. So she does go to Starbucks. That's in her budget. And we plan it. And she gets a $25 gift card every month. And that's what she uses to go to Starbucks. And it's that simple.
I love that. So how can you be bougie on a budget? Let's talk that. I love that tagline. It's so good. What are some strategies here? Because everyone wants to be, let's be honest, bougie. We all like nice stuff.
Yeah. I think what breaks people's budgets and their money each month is those one-off things that happen. Like the kids needing money for a field trip, or you wanting to go to the store to buy this or that, just things that come up, and you can easily plan out your income, your debts, your expenses, and your groceries, gas, right? All that. But it's the other things. And so what we like to do is set up a system where we have our savings buckets, where you're saving for stuff ahead of time. You have a Christmas savings account. You have a gifts savings account for all birthdays and anniversaries and things like that are coming up. You have a travel savings bucket, so that way you can go on vacation with your family. A lot of people have a kids sports fund, because that is a huge thing right now. It's all travel sports are going on at the moment, right? And we have more. We have a home repair one. We have a vehicle maintenance one. Like, you get to decide what that looks like for you. And I think being bougie on a budget is different for every single person. You have to define what that means to you. Okay. Yeah. So you have to define, what does it mean for me to be able to feel like I'm being bougie with my money, and start planning out what that looks like. But again, for us, for most of our clients, it's budgeting ahead of time for the things that they quote unquote used to not ever have money for.
Yeah. And we did a lot of market research when we really launched our podcast and try to figure out, who we're helping and how we're going to help them.
Yeah.
And, they didn't want to give up their pumpkin spice lattes. That's just what it was. And we said, you don't have to. You don't have to live on beans and rice, and you don't have to give up your pumpkin spice lattes, but we have to make the numbers make sense for you, right? And we have clients, and what Vanessa said, everybody's bougie in a different way. Everybody, some people, like I said, they want Starbucks. I had a client, she was a single mom, and she and her daughter went and did their nails however often you have to get your nails done. And that's how they were bougie. And they didn't, their food budget was less than anyone else's that I've ever seen. So, they weren't, they just chose, our clients decide where they like to spend their money. And then they're more frugal in the other areas. And I think that's what we like, is to allow them to live the lifestyle that they want and make progress on the goals and the things that they value without feeling like they can't do anything. We have really, this came into existence in my mind for two different clients. I had that client I talked about, the single mom, and then another couple, she said, we like to eat out and travel, and that's not going to change. That's what she said in her first session. And I was like, okay, well, I'm not here to change it. I'm just here to help you make the math work,
One of the things that, I just recently had a client, and she's a new client. And so she was listing all of her expenses, and she was spending a lot of money a month on Amazon subscriptions for like Ziploc bags and just random small things. And I really sat down and said, okay, you can't spend all your money and save all your money at the same time.
No.
So you need to really decide what you want to do. If it is saving for these annual bills, they live in California, they have a huge property tax bill. And I said, if it's saving for this stuff that's important, all your annual bills, going on vacation, doing all this stuff with your family, then you need to find out in your expense category what you can cut back on. And and I asked her, I said, what do you use the Ziploc bags for? She's like, well, I just use it for my dog food, because we make our dog's dog food. And I said, okay, we're gonna wash some plastic bags and we're gonna reuse them if that's what you're using it for. And she was like, I never thought about that. Anyways, we worked through some strategies on, like Shana said, ways to be frugal in some areas so you can be bougie and spend on others. But you have to decide what that means for you, because it is different for everyone.
I love that you said that it's different for everyone, because I think one of the most important things, I was on a podcast with another person talking about leadership and success. And it's like, we have to decide what that means for us and our families and as people. And we need to stop looking at other people and how they're defining it. So then we can say, this is our priority with our money. This is how we want to, spend it. This is what we want to do. And so I love that you're doing that. I want to talk about debt, because a lot of people have debt, and for all different kinds of reasons. I mean, I think it's not just because people are like, blowing up their credit cards to buy like handbags. Like, people have real things in their life, or things that they have to pay for, and college, whatever it is. How do you help your clients think about getting debt free and how to tackle that? Because that can feel, again, kind of shameful for people. It's like, oh gosh, I have this. How am I gonna? And like you said, I love how you said, you don't go back, don't live in the past. Let's move to the future. How do you help people think about debt?
Okay, I'll go. So let me give you the example. I just recently talked to somebody on the phone, and she said, I don't want to pay off my car because the interest rate's only 1.9%. So I want to focus on something else. And she really didn't have much else to focus on. And I said, okay, but your car payment's $500 a month. And she said, well, yeah. And I said, if you pay off your car, which you could in 2 months, that's $500 back in your pocket each month. And that concept, that thought of having that money that was going towards the car payment now back in her pocket, and she gets to now decide what to do with it.
Or put it in a bank account and make 5% minimum on
interest.
Which is better than the 1.9 she was paying. Anyway.
Right. So like, you have options, but you can create those options for yourself once you get rid of those minimum payments. So that was my short story I want to share, and I'll let Shana explain the rest.
Yeah. So we are Dave Ramsey aficionados. We love him. We learned from him. We trained under him. My husband still listens to him every day. But now that we've been doing this for 5 years, we know that everybody's situation is different. Not everybody, it's a priority to pay off debt. We have so many clients right now they're saving for wedding season, right? Their kids are getting married, or they're traveling to the weddings, and they've just that's got to be the priority for their money. And then, so it's not necessarily, so that's the first thing. If that's not your priority, then figure out your priority. And when you're ready to tackle debt, then tackle that. The other thing that we've learned is, although we personally love the snowball method, it's not always And just for context, in case your listeners don't know, snowball is just paying off your smallest debt first. So if you have a credit card balance with 500 versus a credit card balance with 2,000, you would do the 500 first. Okay, that's usually a great plan, but there are so many circumstances where it's not the best plan. So one time I had a client who had this weird furniture loan that she had to pay $500 a month or something, and the balance was minimal. It was like 2,000 or something. Comparative, like if you have a credit card that's 2,000, you're gonna have like a $30 bill, right? I said, oh, we're paying that off. You need that like Vanessa said, you're going to get that $500 back to put to the next snowball. Yeah. That's one instance. Then we have, a lot of people are getting their tax returns right now. So are you going to go smallest to largest? Not necessarily. If you have a higher interest debt that you can knock out all at once with a tax return, and that's what you would rather do, then we would definitely steer you to do that so that you can knock it out because you have the money available, right? So there's just different methods: the snowball, the avalanche, the minimums, go by the minimum payment amount. It's all depending on you, your circumstances, and your goals.
Yeah, and I think to your point, Jessica, like how do we teach people, and what do we tell them about it? It's like Shana said, if it's important to you at this time, then let's talk about how to walk through that and how to get out of it based on what situation you have going on, right? So it's like what debts do you have? What are their minimums? How much interest are you paying on all of them? Do you have some 0% interest ones, but the second they come that you are paying interest, you have back interest for like the last 2 years on it? You really have to look at it as a whole and see what's important. But we do have a lot of clients right now. They're like, look, I can only pay minimums because I have weddings. There are things already on the books. And we call that kind of storm mode, where we pause doing what we're normally doing, and then we work on the bigger things, and then we come back to the debt. But a lot of times, if we can get their money organized, they're able to do them both at the same time.
Yeah.
So they're able to, maybe pay an extra $200 to $300 on debt, but also save $200 to $300 for that vacation as well.
Yeah. And something where we kind of veered from our dear friend is, he really is all about debt. That's kind of his one word tagline, right? We think your money has there's so much more going on. And, to our points of all the things that our kids cost, that's what mom is thinking about. She's like, how am I supposed to afford football gear or whatever? Do you have to pay that? I don't know. That your money is it's so much bigger. And we want to be very aware of that conversation. And then part of that conversation is debt. We are going to eventually we're really going to get you on board with paying off debt, not because it's shameful, not because you made mistakes, but because we know your money can do so much more once you're not owing somebody, right? We love one thing your listeners can do is go add up all of your minimum payments right now. See how much that equals. Usually it's a couple $1,000s. See what you could do with that every month. Think about, imagine what you could do with those minimums if you had it back in your pocket, back in your budget every month.
Yeah. And one of the things we like to tell them is if you had a money market account, which is just a high yield savings account, and right now they're making between 4% and 5% interest. So if you had that money that you're paying on interest, instead you're going to be making money on that. And you take that $2,000, put it in a money market, you're making money every month. Now your money is working for you, right? It's making money for you every single month. And so again, it's not to be shameful, but like Shana said, it is because it can do so much more for you when you are in charge of it and you get to decide what you want to do with it.
And the last thing I'll say is usually you make too much money to use debt. That's really the problem that we want to solve, is get you on a budget so you can cash flow things. And you're using debt because you're not managing your money right. It's not because you need to. And that's really the big thing that we would want to encourage your listeners to think about.
Yeah, that's good. Because the money's there because you got to pay the debt. But how do we get rid of that so you can use that money for whatever else?
Cycle. Yeah, you're in the cycle, and we want to help you get out of it because you don't need it.
It's usually because you're a paycheck behind. What we found is everyone is like one paycheck behind because they build up the credit, and then when the paycheck comes and they pay it off, and then they build it up and they pay it off. And so we're like, well, you just have to get to the point where you're not doing that. And so it's usually it means that they're just one paycheck behind everything. Yeah. So we work really hard to try to get rid of that. So like Shana said, you can become your own bank.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's ask this, because I know some people that do this. And some people put everything on a credit card in a month, to get points like at Costco or what have you. And then they say they pay it all off. I don't do that, so I don't know what that's like, but I know people that do it. What do you think about that? And do you recommend that? I feel like that could just get so out of control too easily, personally, and then that stress of knowing that you had to pay that bill, and is there, but do you see people do that? Because I feel like a lot of people do. And how do you coach people with that?
Oh yeah, we see, I mean, probably not every, but a majority of our
90%.
clients come in and do that. And then any pushback that we ever do get, maybe from, raving fans, I'm just kidding, would be, well, what about the credit card points? And we have a lot of opinions about that. But again, you have way better things to do than try to manage and figure out how many credit card points you can or cannot get. Like just pay for it in cash. Like Vanessa always says, you'll put just put some money in a money market. You're going to make way more money in interest than you are going to make back in credit card points. But really your brain calories and your money is not worth trying to figure out, if I do this and that and the other, then this. No. Let's just not do that.
Yeah. It's almost like trying to be like an extreme couponer. It's like a full-time job.
Yeah.
Like literally, if you really want to captivate on the credit card points system, it is a full-time job. And to me, it's scary because you can get yourself in a lot of debt to get a couple credit card points. Yeah. I had a client recently, she put $100,000 of her money into a money market and she made $700 in 1 month in interest. And her husband was a very big credit card point fanatic. And he was like, we have to use the credit card to get the points. And I was like, okay, well, I had them change some stuff. And I said, well, now you have $700. Like, there's your credit card points, basically. And he was like, oh, right. So it was just mind blowing to see you can get that free money elsewhere. Yeah. You don't have to use a credit card to get it.
And so many people think they're going to keep it under control, and then it just starts to slowly slip away.
Yeah.
Right. And that is what they're counting on. They are counting on you not actually paying stuff off, and you end up owing them and paying their bills for the rest of your life. And, we just think that you don't have to get involved in that. You can just skip that.
Like, keep it simple, right? I mean, I think that's what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah. So I want to talk about your business and how you've built it, because I think it's so cool and interesting. But before we do, I want to, give a little bit of time to, life is not linear and things come up. And I guess I'm asking this because I've personally I have 4 boys, and 2 of them were born with rare diseases, and that throws your whole life off. You are maxing out your insurance every year, you're spending, I actually, a point of research of mine, along with some other universities and children's hospitals, has been the financial impact of complex illness on families. And it is freaking astronomical. It's something that organizations, mine is one of them, are trying to talk about, because we need to change policies and the way that we're doing things with people, because it's not sustainable. And I know in my life, just to be very vulnerable, like, I am like, gosh, you feel almost shame or sadness or frustration, because you're like, I'm doing all the right things. Like, I am a great mom. I am being faithful to this really hard story. I'm, trying to keep my kids in all the things that they need, and it's just not working. And one of the things that I've learned and tried to, sometimes we tell ourselves, we're like, we are doing a good job, and it's not the season where we can be saving as much as we want, or we can't go on a vacation because we have to do these other things. We have to take care of that. And that's like the honest, not fun part of having, sort of something from left field come, but a lot of people do. People's parents get sick, their kids get sick, something happens. Like, how do you sort of merge this idea of money, which can be somewhat linear, with reality of life and grief and people being disappointed by their circumstances? Like, how do you talk to people in those places?
Well, I think, our secret mission is to inject hope. So we listen with that intent, to hear the story and figure out how we can literally like a needle, inject hope into the situation. And, everybody's situation is different, but we would want to look at your numbers and see. So we have some clients that have a similar, they're managing an illness that is, like you said, maxing out their budget for the foreseeable future. Right. Well, we're just going to figure out how we're going to deal with that. We have to look at the numbers still. Yeah. And like you said, sometimes, it just depends on the season. There might be some options for, for vacations and stuff like that, but you just have to look at the numbers, see what can we make out of this. And then, like we said, we usually look and see, is there an opportunity for more income? Is there an opportunity to reduce expenses? Is there, again, with, like you said, in your world, is there better insurance possibilities? Goodness. Or her client, well, I'll let her tell her story, but she found out how she could get more money, or how the hospital was keeping money. Like that's, as a coach, we have to like really dig in there and see what we can figure out to inject that hope.
Yeah. One of the things that she found was she found somebody like an advocate at the hospital or insurance. I forget who she worked for, but basically was helping make sure the codes were all correct. So that way that they got the max benefit with their insurance. And they found that a lot of it was wrong. And so the amount of money that they ended up owing was drastically reduced by this person coming in and just taking a second look at everything. So, but what I'll say is if this is your situation, you have a lot going on. You do. And you should be 100% focused and be able to be focused on that. She has a client recently that found out that he was diagnosed with cancer, and they have 3 kids, or 4, I think 3 or 4 anyways. And they, and so she is, the mom now is trying to be an amazing wife, trying to be a caregiver to him and have the kids. I believe she homeschools too. And it's like, we want money to be the last thing you have to worry about.
Yeah.
We want money to be so automated and so on it. And it's systemized, everything is going. And so that way you can be 100% focused on what you need to be focused on in that moment. And that is truly our goal for everyone.
Yeah. Well, with that client, they were going to go do another round of testing, which I know how fond you might be of another round of testing. I heard you talk about that, but so we had our session, and I said, okay, you don't have to worry about any money, any budget, any banks, any bills till next month. Well, I'll talk to you then. Like, just like Vanessa said, go be present and go deal with that. And as you said, life throws you curveballs. Life is not. Never seems to get more simple. Never seems to slow down. There's no going back. Right. And so if that's the case, let's make money the least stressful thing. It does not need to be adding to that, which it is so much. It's usually adding anxiety and worry and fear. Let's get it figured out, get it, like Vanessa said, automated, and then never worry about it. Like, it does not need to be one of those stress points in your life.
We like to tell people, like, we're trying to take your head out of the sand. Like, let's get your head out of the sand of it. Let's see the whole thing, set it up, get it automated, and then you can kind of walk away and just manage.
That's good. I think one of the things you said too that is, I think, worth raising is that, we can make more money. It's not like we're on this fixed thing. Like my husband says, we just have to out earn our problems. That's what he says. But it's kind of a good attitude, because he's like, either we sit in these problems or these challenges and say, this is all it's ever going to be, or we get out there and we figure out how to make more money. And so I think that's one mentality that we can have as people. It's sort of the victim or creator idea. Like, we can be creators, we can make more money. And so I just want to say that to people. That's one solution to our problems, or to the challenges that we have, is to be creative and to use our gifts and talents to like do more for our families. I just think it's worth saying that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's talk about, go ahead. No, you go.
Oh, sorry. I'm always going to have more to say, so you can always cut me off. Don't worry.
Yeah, no,
so we are about to do a money mindset podcast, or money baggage. And I was thinking about, I told Vanessa and my husband, my baggage, if I had kept, and I told my son, if I had kept it, was that my family, everyone in my family settled. So they made okay money, but they never strove to do even anything more. It was like, I'm safe. Safe, like at baseball, right? And that's it.
Good enough.
And good enough, right? And to your point, no, we can do more. We don't have to. We're chasing that this lifestyle entrepreneur thing that we hear, which is like making good money, having hitting your goals in business, but I don't need to live in my business, right? So there's like a balance there for sure. But we can make more money, and I can keep setting goals and keep moving forward and progressing. And hopefully that will reflect in the budget. And
this may just be a season for you. Like it may be you need to get an extra job or however you want it. You need to make money right now to do something big that you have to take care of. And then maybe you don't have to do that forever. Yeah. Right. And people are always hiring like employers are always looking for somebody who is going to work. So you don't have to, I don't think there's an issue right now of trying to find work, because I think everyone, especially my husband, like they're always trying to find people that actually want to work. If you're willing to put in the work and the time, you're going to get a job anywhere, really. So that's not a problem, but like the opportunity is always there.
I love that. So how have you built your business? You built it debt free. You have a 6+ figure business probably. Like, how have you done it? Tell us some of your secrets.
Oh, how did we do it? Lots of patience, which
Oh my
we
gosh.
don't have at all.
So much, so many of the wronged choices.
Yeah.
That's how we built it. It's what is it? Built on a big old pile of failures or whatever you want to call it. So we're on the top of the mountain now. No, I'm just kidding. We're not.
We're still climbing.
What we did do right is we listened to God. We were called into this, and we took that scary first step. Almost everything since then, or between then and now, was maybe the wrong direction. And but we just kept trying to listen. And when God has thrown a big old door shut in our face, that's when we listen. I don't know if you're listening.
He tried to do the red flags, and we didn't do those.
We don't do like hints. We don't do subtle. We are like, no, you need to be evicted from the building before you realize those people, you cannot be in that building. And so we've had lots of ups and downs, but we've been best friends for a long time. When we started, it's funny you said 15, 12, and 9, those are the ages of my kids. And when our oldest are boys, and when they were 15, or when they were 4, they were in VPK together, and we went to the gym together, and we built a friendship. And we did finances and kind of stuff together. And then I moved away from military, and Vanessa was working her favorite job ever. Just kidding. Nope.
Yeah, I was in a job for 5 years. I think it was 5 years. And God told me, like, this is a season, and I wasn't listening. I was like, oh, this is great money. It's easy money. I can do this. It's fine. And he told me that I was going to start my business mortgage free and debt free. And I come from a line of entrepreneurs. I knew entrepreneurship was some way going to be in my life. I didn't really understand how or when, but so I remember the Holy Spirit telling me that. I remember laughing, going, how? I'm 28 years old, and you're telling me at 28 that I need to pay off my mortgage to start my business. Like, that's cute. But it's math, right? It's just simple numbers. And so my husband and I did the hard thing. And I remember when I was done, I kind of put my hands out, walking around my house going, okay, I did the thing. What's next? And Shana messaged me, and she said, I'm moving back home. You need to get your financial coaching certification, and we're going to do this thing together. And the whole message was full circle of, you're going to now show other people how to do this. So, well,
the text came after she asked God, and it was, like we said, it was not a subtle hint. It was like, oh, okay, this is immediate, like, question, answer. Anyway, so I moved back, and we did start working together. We started our business on April 1st, 2020. It's a great time of life.
Great timing.
Not only was it
April Fool's
Day, it was smack dab in the middle of this pandemic.
Yeah. So. And so we did a bunch of different things. Like we said, we used to have like 5 businesses basically. And once we finally really listened and figured out and honed in on the one thing that we're supposed to be doing, which is financial coaching, things have really, that was in the last year. Literally, it's been a year and 14 days that we really decided, no, stop trying to do everything or be everything to everyone. Just focus in on this thing. And it's exploded, like, praise God for that, right? But everything is just going the right way and much more easy. And it's kind of crazy. But we did build, what was our first? We just looked at it the other day. We do Dave Ramsey, No Debt, right? So grow at the speed of cash. And we teach all of our clients, because most of them are entrepreneurs, how to do that, because it's very confusing, right? To how do I buy all these things I need for my business when I don't have any income yet? So we talk about that. But then we also love Mike Michalowicz, which is Profit First. And our first paycheck was
$300.
I don't even know. Maybe $300.
Yeah.
And but like we said, profitable from day one. And we followed his system so that we got a paycheck every month, because
we systemized our money. We organized it into a couple of different accounts.
Yeah. And the thing that a lot of business owners, they don't systemize it from the beginning, and you never either end up getting paid consistently or even end up getting paid at all, right? And so because we did that, we had this hard and fast rule of no debt, and we were going to pay ourselves and grow our expenses, grow what we wanted to add to the business as our income grew as a business. That's why we hit 6 figures that first year. We did we never went into debt. We got paychecks all the time. We got profit. We got to invest in coaching and all these cool things that we've been able to do.
Yeah. It's really hard to stay disciplined to be able to build our business debt free, but we, went back and thought, how can we tell our clients to get out of debt if we are in debt, if we're accumulating debt as business owners? And so that just didn't feel good. We didn't want to do that. But being able to pay for the things that we can now with our business it feels so good, because we longed for it for 4 years. We're like, someday, right? And we just kept saying that, and we kept working and we kept, because we know that we say God he can't move a parked car, but he can steer one that's in gear, right? So we always wanted to be in motion, moving in the direction that he was telling us to move. And we knew that he was going to, all of this is going to work out.
Yeah.
But we just had to keep going, couldn't give up.
Yeah. And honestly, just not to pivot too much, but I just want your listeners to understand that will happen for their finances too. If you get moving and you be intentional, God will meet you. We have seen it over and over again. Like all of a sudden you got this bonus that you weren't expecting or whatever, but you have to be a good steward, and you taking that step, that leap of faith. We always see like really weird, random things. Like I had a client that was a breeder. She had these cutest little puppies, and like both dogs got pregnant with, they usually have 3 and they each had 6 or whatever. Like it was just, okay, well, I just made like $5,000 with overnight, kind of deal. And it was, we always think
she paid off her debt in puppies.
Yes, she did pay off her debt. I made her a tracker with puppy paw prints, but but we just say, we know that if you're intentional, everything will follow. You just have to keep going. Yeah.
They do. I believe that. I've seen it in my own life. So I there's a question that I ask all of my guests as we wrap up. And I'd love to ask both of you. So I'll start with you, Vanessa. What is one thing that you love about yourself because of hardships or disappointments that you face? Like something you can say, I love this about myself. I love this about Vanessa because it's been built from adversity in my life or my business or my story.
Oh, goodness. Something that I love about myself.
You want me to go, or do you got?
Well,
okay.
I'm in this mom era right now with my kids, watching them grow up, and I think I would say that I'm a good mom. I love doing things for them. I love teaching them what's right. I just had a conversation with my daughter. We were sitting on the bed. She's 14, very hormonal. But it's like, I'm really big on making sure that they understand what's really important in life. I love my parents. I have such a good relationship with my parents. My parents are not Christians, and I didn't grow up that way, but it's really important for me to have that instilled with my kids, and my kids know that. They feel it, they love it. And just having them know what's really, really important with friendships, with God, with their brother, with their siblings, right? It's just, for me, I feel like I am really good honing in on and teaching my kids that.
I love that. What about you, Shana?
So based on the hardships, I would say the thing that I like about myself is I can always see the positive, and I always will see the positive, and that will be the main thing that I will see. And it gets me maybe in some places of being naive, but any situation, any problem, I will always be able to immediately see the positive, or the way to look at it positively. And, my original example, and I know this is all from God, has nothing to do with me. So that's why I'm like, thanks for that gift. But, when I was, my dad left when I was 2, and I basically never saw him again. But he lived in the same town, and he would he would not want to see me. And my mom like really, really tried. But my attitude, nobody told me this. My attitude was, if I get to see him, it'll be a bonus. It'll be a bonus. If he calls, it'll be a bonus. It'll be extra. And I never had any resentment, or I was never mad about it that he didn't do it. I was just like, it'll be cool if I get to see him. And that attitude has like kept with me throughout my life. And that's why, when you think about seeing your kids sitting on the bed, or you hear these problems that your clients are going through, we can see the light. We can see immediately how to encourage you, how to give you some hope, and how to see it positively.
I love that. So where can people find you if they want to learn more from you or be coached by you? What's the best place for them to catch up with you?
Well, if they want to listen to us talk even faster, so we're trying to match your vibe, which is very calm and cool, and
We talk a little fast.
We're a little less that way when there's no one to rein us in. But anyway, our podcast is Financial Coaching for Women, and we have been listened to, but so you're welcome. But
we actually have a lot of husbands that like tell their wives about our podcast and be like, "Hey, we're gonna sign up for coaching together," and I'm like, "Oh, this is fun."
But that's the best place to find us, and then everything else flows from that. But our website is budgetbesties.com. They can go and check out everything that we have, including any of the freebie downloads that we have, and anything and about coaching and our signature budget template that we sell other people, since like we said, the ones that we found we were not impressed with.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. We'll put all of this in the show notes so everyone can find you easily with just a click of a link. But I think what you're doing is so important and so needed. And I love your energy around it. I love the positivity. I love the hope. I love what you're doing. So thanks so much for joining me here today.
Thank you so much for having us.
We had a really good time. Thanks, Jessica.
Thank you for listening to Becoming Heartstrong. I hope you found today's episode inspiring and applicable to your life. If you enjoyed the conversation, please subscribe to the podcast, leave a review, and share it with a friend. Before I go, this is just a quick reminder that I believe in you, and I believe that you too have the ability to become heartstrong. I'll chat with you soon.